Hello, my most amazing artists. Today we are looking at geodes and the science of rocks and how they slice them open, and there's all these different layers and crystals inside. So we already watched about how that happens and the science of it, but now we're going to make the art of it. So to make our geodes, we're going to be using watercolor paints. Need water to make them work. That's why they're called watercolor. Do not try to use that paint without having water on your brush. It will not work and it will be globby. It will be a waste of paint. You'll have a couple of paintbrushes on your table, and I'm going to start out by always writing my name. I'm always going to start out by writing my name on my paper, knowing that when I have a wet painting, I'm not going to be able to flip it over to write my name and class code. So that's the first thing you always do. Then you can flip it over. Now you will only have one piece of paper today because this is watercolor paper. It's heavier and thicker and more expensive than normal paper. All right, so to make watercolor work, I got to dip my brush in the water. When I'm using my brush, I want to dip. If it starts to drip, wipe it on the lip. That means the lip or the edge of the bowl. That does not mean your lips. That would be disgusting. So make sure you just don't tap it, because if you're tapping it, you're going to get water all over somebody else's paper. I'm going to draw an oval. It does not have to be perfect. I just want to make sure I have enough water, and I'm going to make an oval shape. I'm going to make the outside of my geode. So I'm trying to see that water there. I know it's hard to see in the video,
but I'm just making the outline of my geode. So it might be a little bit of an imperfect oval, but I want to make sure there's enough water on there. So if I tilt it, maybe we can see that I have that water in an oval shape on there. All right, but look at the geode
too, because it's not perfect. If you want to make yours a little wobbly wiggly, that's okay. That's actually going to make it look more realistic. So after I've got enough water on there, and I'm only doing one ring around the outside.
After I've got enough water on my paper, I'm going to pick a color.
Now we're using analogous colors. So those are colors next to each other on the color wheel. You guys should already know that from our last project. When I pick a color, blues, purples, greens, any three that are next to each other. For a hint, in your watercolor tray, they should be next to each other if they're analogous. Some of them might be mixed up a little bit because I replaced them. I'll start with purple. And when I get that purple, I only dab my brush in there like once. I don't swirl it around. I don't really hit it down. I don't hurt my brush at all. I keep it nice and pointy like a ballerina that's going to dance on her tippy toes. And that's all the paint I need. I don't need a ton of paint because watch. All I'm going to do is dab my brush onto that water that I already put down. I'm not going back and forth and painting like I normally would, or like you would think I would do with this watercolor. So I'm just getting a little bit on there. If it's not enough, maybe I'll go back to the water, go back to the paint, but I'm just putting that paint on where I already put the water. This is a different technique. It's called wet on wet watercolor. So you're using wet watercolor on a wet paper, and how it does it is it spreads out into wherever you have the water. So if I had the water on the whole paper, this would not work to make that outside of the geode. All right, so I'm going to make sure that my outside layer is nice and big, and also probably the darkest of my layers. I'm going to go ahead and wash my brush, because before I get a new color, always wash your brush. That way you don't have yucky watercolors, and the people with your table that you're sharing with don't have to use mixed up colors. Now for my second layer, be careful, because if you tap into that other layer, you're going to have some bleeding. It's going to start to bleed. If you don't want that, leave a ring of white around in between your layers. I don't mind that it's bleeding in there a little bit, because I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use a little bit of blue.
I'm going to tap that into there, add a little bit more water on, and let's see what the blue does. To my next layer.
All right, once I'm happy with my paper, once I'm happy with the colors that I have on there, my analogous colors, I'm going to rinse my brush. I'm going to put it back with the hairs up in the cup. After I do that, I am ready to add some magic. Now, the magic part that I'm going to add is salt. You'll have a little bit of salt. This is just normal salt that you have probably at home to salt your food. This salt is going to be used for the watercolor. Now, you have to do this while it's still wet. We can't let it dry before you do this part. You also don't want to use a ton. You want to take a little pinch and be really careful about where you decide to put it. If I'm all done, we're going to have to let these dry. When you let them dry, we're going to put them on the drying rack. Never pick it up with just one hand, like flat. You want to leave it out just like, hold it like that. If you're bringing it to the drying rack, I would suggest you even wait, because look how watery this is. It's going to start to bleed and drip all over if I were to carry it normally. So look, it's already bleeding and I'm holding it pretty flat. So make sure if you like it and you're happy with it, you carry it 2 hands super flat to the drying rack. Don't put it on the drying rack unless it's got your name on it. Also wanted to show you another example I did with some more analogous colors. I picked similar ones, but you could do colors like, you could always add a little bit of brown in there. You could do oranges, yellows, and reds. You could do the warm colors. You could do green, blue, purple. There's all different kinds of analogous color combinations you could do for your geode. All right, everybody, have fun making those geodes today. So now that my painting is dry, I'm going to go back with a gold Sharpie marker, and I'm just going to outline the outside of the geode. That way it gives it a little bit of an outside shell to it. If you wanted to show a side view of your geode, you might see a little bit more gold than other frontal views like I'm doing, like I'm looking down on it right now. So I only see that little bit of an outside edge there. But if I wanted to show a little bit more, I could just go back over with Sharpie. I'm also going to show a little bit in the inside. Now, just so you know, these Sharpies are brand new. When you use them, if you want a small fine line, use the tip of the Sharpie. Don't press too hard though, because if you want to make a thick line, just use the side of the Sharpie. I'm going to just put a few lines on the inside. I'm not going to go too crazy with it. I want to make it look kind of real. I'm going to sign my name when I'm done in the bottom right, and then that's it, artists. All right, good luck.